Alright, we are officially live. So, hello everyone, welcome back. Short break, we missed one stream. So, right, last time we were making the adaptive control units and trying to fix all the bugs. Now that has evidently not worked. So we're just gonna spend some time working on that. And it looks like computer production may have stopped entirely. So let's figure out what is going on with computers. I'm gonna have to go up. Is that this floor? This is heavy modular frames. That's dealing with encased industrial beam shortages as well, which is completely unrelated. Hate to see it. Alright, let's go first things first with the computer shortage, because that is more pressing. Alright, so which one of these guys is computers? Is it this row? No, those are stators. We have our computers coming down from up here. So let's get up here and see what is wrong with these guys. Alright, seemingly nothing. I did fix... Okay, well there's certainly a significant portion of it. Duh. Must be all connected up. Also, it just started raining like crazy outside, so that's interesting. Alright, so we have all of these computers then, which, I mean, these are all backlogged up. These first couple which were running were short on crystal oscillators, it looks like. So obviously that is an issue. And that is 80%, 80%. Sorry about that. Quick sneeze. Alright, so this is all short of rubber, which is something that I had briefly gone and fixed before this stream, hopefully. Unless there's some other problem with the rubber. Let's go up and verify real quick. Rubber is looking pretty green across the board. I want to say that that's probably fine. And if we just check, seeing 100% most places. So hopefully it'll just be a matter of the rubber getting down to the destination. And there we go. Although I wonder if we're using too much rubber here. Like, we might not be distributing it properly or something. It's 109 point something. This is 480, which... I mean, that looks like 480. Does this look like 109 point something? Let's find us a throughput monitor, slap that onto there. Alright, currently it's showing 98, but it's going up. Alright, so it's 120 except for when there are major gaps, so it's looking like 105, 106. And it's supposed to be 109 point something, so that's probably okay. Probably fine. Rubber should be resolved. Now if we just drop down here and check on our computers, yeah, these are doing pretty much fine. I mean, we're short crystal oscillators on some of these, but for the most part, it's no problem. It is a little bit worrying that we're short crystal oscillators, so because you'd expect them to have bundled up more than that. But these are going up, so it looks like that is that problem solved, and computers should be running. Now, technically, we don't, strictly speaking, need to do this. We have enough adaptive control units to accomplish the task, but I do want this to be perfect. Alright, now this automated wiring is short cables. So let's run back and figure out what that's about. The cables are short quick wire. And if we trace the quick wire back, it's going to come from all the way up here somewhere. And it's going to be a bit of a journey up. Alright, then it comes around from this area. Yeah, this is one of those ones that just sort of zigzags around seemingly at random. Alright, so we have our 2 giant belts of quick wire, which should be almost 400 each. It doesn't look perfect, but I suppose it could be, right? I don't know. Let's just go to the production machines and see what's going on. I do see some yellow down there. Alright. Okay, so these are just yellow because there's not enough output. So that means if there's not enough output there, then... Did I count that wrong? Might have done. So these are each 88 point something. Oh, I think I know the problem. So if this is 88.633, and all of these are equal to that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.633. No, it should be 443. So I guess the problem is that these 4 are these 4 all producing at 100%? Looks like it. So if this isn't 480, which you can tell because the belt is going slow, and this isn't 480, you can tell because it's not anywhere close, then the problem is a splitting problem. So let's get down to here. Now the problem is that we're not getting enough use out of this belt and we're expecting too much of this belt. But that should be fine, right? So this is a priority merger, which says priority to the middle. So this is definitely a full Mark IV belt, which means this is definitely 240, 240, right? Because that's just a Mark IV belt split 50-50. Now, if this is 240 here, and then we're taking out, what type of belt is that? A Mark II and a Mark I. Then this is 150, which I believe it should be, and that looks correct. But if that's 150, then that means that this is 90, right? Because it's 240 minus 150, so this is 90. But in actuality, it's getting nothing? Ah, I see. Okay. So that belt was missing, which was throwing all of that off. So now that should fix the quick wire distribution. And we're already seeing that go better. See, it's not gonna magically fix instantly, but should be another problem resolved. Alright, quick wire fixed. And that should get all of this stuff going. Hopefully. As well as whatever else the quick wire is going to, which I can't remember. Alright, the cables should also be fixed now. Once that makes its way through, which will take quite some time. So, yeah, this is... I mean, it's backed up because there are other bigger issues, I guess, currently. And those other bigger issues are probably not computers anymore. Because we just dumped like hundreds of them into the system. So what, do we have a heavy modular frame shortage now? Let's drop down here and check. Alright, it looks like for now at least we have some buffers for everything. Which means we're gonna have to wait and see what breaks next. Alright, in the meantime, we're gonna give that time to cool off. We're not done bug fixing this, but I do want to just take 100 of those. And where is the space elevator? Actually, where is the space elevator? Is it just on the other side of the map? It is on the exact opposite side of the map. Well, that's fine. We have some time to kill during the bug fixing process anyway, so let's run over there. And actually, do we have... Are the modular engines sort of in this general direction? Or, no, modular engines I think were this one? Yes. So modular engines are there. Flexible frameworks are probably somewhere in that vicinity as well. I don't know exactly where. So we're just going to head northwest until we can reach the space elevator. Alright, so let's slide jump along. And off we go. Am I crazy? Do I see a lot of yellow lights over there in that factory? What is that factory, and is it meant to be completely stopped? I might have, like, not hooked up a sink to it. So this is high-speed connectors. Alright. Let's go over here and see what the heck has happened. While we're passing by. Alright, I'm gonna take a guess that I didn't attach a power line to the output sink or something along those lines. Because I see a whole lot of items on belts. Although I don't see anything on these belts, actually. Okay, no copper ingots there. Where are the copper ingots meant to come from, then? There, and there's no copper ore. Alright, well that's somewhat concerning. So the problem is that we are using more copper ore than we are mining, which has caused this entire factory to just completely shut down, I guess? Or maybe the train itself is not working? Yeah, oh, I see. So the train itself isn't emptying properly because of this, which means it's not going off to grab more. Alright, so we can just pop that on, and that ought to fix that. Alright, nice easy fix there. We'll see if that fix lasts, of course. But for now, we are going to continue on our journey. So yeah, the problem there is that I have the trains set not to leave until they're completely emptied. So if I'm not completely emptying every single cargo container off of the train, then it'll just get stuck like that. Alright, so we keep on going along. Keep on going along until we make it there. It is pretty far away. Alright, we are at the hypertube cannon. So let's get in here. Is it pointed correctly? It is. And off we go. Actually, I do want to stop at the modular engines first to grab some of them. And also check out what's going on here. I see a lot of yellow. Alright. So you don't have any motors. And you don't have any rotors. Because you don't have any wire. Is the stator side also going to be wire? Yes, so there's no wire. Now all of these, are these iron wire? Alright, they are technically producing some, but like hardly any compared to what they're supposed to be. Which is a bit concerning because these are supposed to be like speed balanced-ish. Alright, now is there an iron ingot shortage? Yes, but for no apparent reason. Okay, that's terrible. So these machines are all just running at 25% because they just feel like it, I guess? I guess they just simply... I mean, everything should be going fine for them. They have full inputs and empty outputs, and yet they're reading 50%. Just for literally zero reason. Well, that is somewhat annoying. Maybe it's just some weird... It must just be some weird bug. With... I don't know, something weird happened. But it looks like me being present has caused it to reactivate. And hopefully that fixes everything. So all the rest of this is obviously just going to be deadlocked waiting on the wire. Alright, so we can go up. And then we need to grab, what, 500 of these? Please say that it's mostly full. It is. It is outputting to the sink. That's fine. Alright, so that's 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Alright, so that is all of those two. Now we just move on and make our way over to the space elevator, which is going to take some time since I stopped my hypertube cannon journey, but won't be a huge deal. We are already pretty close. And I did set up a hypertube cannon that goes back, apparently. That's convenient. Alright, so over we go. And we're almost there, just gotta get past this quartz. And then probably we're gonna have to drop down to ground level. Alright, down we go. And then we're also going to have to figure out where exactly the Versatile Framework Factory is to drop them off. Hopefully I'll be able to find them. They should be in this general vicinity, I think. Alright, here we are. Space elevator. Modular engines, adaptive control units. Check. So those are all in. Now we just need to find the versatile frameworks. Which, I mean, that might be them over there. Probably not, but could be. I don't know exactly. So we're going to have to go exploring a little bit. Alright. Up we go. If that isn't them, I feel like they're over there. That's where the smart plating is. And I feel like the versatile frameworks weren't that far from the smart plating. Oh no, this is definitely them, huh? I remember building this now. Yep, this should be it. And it looks all green, so unlike the past couple of stops, it looks like things have continued to function in my absence. Alright, so now we are here. And... Alright, so we need 2,500 of them, which means first of all we need inventory space, and a lot of it. So let's clear some of this stuff out. Alright, now how much is one row? That's 100, 200, 300, 400. So I need 6 rows and then an extra 100. That is a lot. So we're going to need to clear even more of this stuff out. Get rid of all of that. I do not need some random smart plating or rotors. Alright, let's at least try. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000, 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 1,500, 1,600, 1,700, 1,750. Alright, that... We're just going to have to make this 2 trips. It's not that far. I was kind of expecting that anyways. So now we just have to take all of this over and drop it off in the space elevator. And over we go. It's weird having to deal with like actual terrain. Came here expecting phase 3 to be complete. I am in the process of transporting the goods over to the space elevator as we speak. I have 1,700 versatile framework in my pockets. And I just need to make one more trip after this one. So it is not currently complete, but it is within like 10 minutes of being complete. Alright, so that all goes in. And then we go back. Why does versatile framework only stack up to 50? And yeah, next phase I'll be able to do this stuff with drones. Like I'll just pop a drone port onto my factories and just have them transport them to the space elevator automatically. For now, we are stuck walking. And it's really not worth setting up any permanent transportation thing there. You can do that? Yeah, you can, apparently. I think I only learned about that recently as well. But yeah, you can just place them in just like you would with the hub. Alright, up we go. And just a little bit more. Yep, just make an offloading station and it is easy. Alright, so then technically we don't need all of this. May as well grab all of it because it saves me the trouble of having to count. Alright, and now we just fly back. Alright, good old regular terrain, which is not nearly as convenient for slide jumping as nice flat foundation is, but is more satisfying to do it. Phase parts not having constant needs has made your late game building extremely lazy. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Seems like, you know, there's a very good reason for not to be that way, but it would be very interesting if it were that way. Yeah, I've definitely done that in the past. I'm trying to deliberately build actual factories for them this time. Alright, there we go. Completed, and here we go. We send it off. And just one more.
Welcome to the Project Assembly Pioneer
Before we get
Progress
to the presentation.
Congratulations, the Phase 3 project part shipment is finally ready for delivery. On delivery, Phase 3 will be completed and the main body will be constructed. You should know how this works by now.
Right.
You'll get access to tiers 7 and 8 in the hub.
This is gonna be
In
fun.
fact, perhaps
Get all
you should
sorts
just
of
go
fancy
look at
stuff.
the technologies there yourself. It's all laid out so that even a monkey could understand it, so you should have no issues. Speaking of which, I don't think you need a reminder about
You're messing
project
around with
parts.
Fixonium for the first
Instead,
time.
I
Yeah,
will be
that
providing some
I don't think
interesting
I've ever done
facts.
Fixonium.
Did you know the average
I might do
pioneer
it here. I'm not
succeeds
sure
at saving
though.
the day? Did you know the average pioneer knows how to optimize pipe
Fixonium has
throughput?
always seemed just a little
Did
bit
you
more
know the
complicated
average
than it's worth.
pioneer stays late at work because they care about humanity? Anyway, I thought you might want to know more about your peers. Good luck in Phase 4.
Oh, the orange ones, what are those called? Yeah, what are the, like Fixite? The ones that you turn into the triangles, right? Yeah, the triangles are fun. They're not too hard. Just sort of like a basic ingot recipe, but with SAM instead of normal stuff. Alright.
Phase 3 of Project Assembly
Phase 3
completed.
complete.
Fixit's predictions indicate pioneers should generally reach this point faster with above-average results, but we should all adjust our expectations according to the situation.
Yeah,
It is
turbo fuel
understandable. The
is
pressure and
pretty
complexity
good for
will
power.
only increase from here, so be sure to take on Phase 4 with efficiency and competence.
I'm trying to skip turbo fuel and go straight to rocket fuel for power, but I might have to set up some sort of power plant in the meantime because we are getting a bit close. Alright, so that is the phase done. And now we're just going to respawn because the hub is like a billion miles away. Why is this a disco floor? Huh. Fun. Something fancy is going on in the hub, apparently. Alright, now on to what we were doing. We have... Do I have enough stuff to just get to the hover pack immediately? I do not. For the anniversary? Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, so... We just have to grab some stuff for this. So we need computers... We need heavy modular frames. We need motors and rubber. Actually, while I'm here, I actually do have more of that stuff in there. I wonder if I have enough to just craft a hover pack. That would be pretty cool. 100 set. It probably. It's probably enough. It would be real convenient to just go straight to having a hover pack instead of having to actually set up aluminum production first. Alright, so we grab a couple motors. And launch that.
Milestone reached. The hover pack draws
All right,
energy
off
from
we
nearby
go.
power connections, and so can only be used in their
And
vicinity.
yes, we do have enough.
It provides an excellent
Craft the hover
vantage
pack.
point of your work, which you clearly need. Otherwise, you would have optimized that obvious problem by now.
Alright, so that is hover pack accomplished. And then in 5 minutes, we're going to actually unlock bauxite refinement itself. And then we need aluminum for all this stuff, obviously. The blender is going to make power setup so much easier with just directly blend fuel instead of having to do the whole packaging loop. Alright, so then this, we need more of all the things. So, computers, and heavy modular frames, and rubber we have enough of. But we are going to need to restock on motors. And this sure is a party in here. Sure is a party in there. You can hear it from around here in the hub. Alright, so in the next 3 minutes we will have bauxite refinement. One of the last recipes you ever rolled was diluted fuel. That is brutal. It's like one of the most important ones. Yeah, I don't know what I would do without diluted fuel. I use it for like everything oil related, basically. Speaking of hard drives, we have a couple of rescans and 6 unscanned drives, so should be good. We might want to take a detour to do some hard drive hunting. But we should be able to just set up aluminum production before then. At least to a somewhat rudimentary, quick setup. Okay, I'm gonna switch to the hover pack now that I can. Ah, it's so nice. Hovering around without having to worry about slide jumping. Alright. What should we be doing here? Why is that yellow? Alright, I guess that SAM node is just yellow for no apparent reason. I'm sure it's fine. What is all this stuff in here? We don't need these anymore. I guess the heat sinks are technically potentially relevant, but I will just upload them to the Dimensional Depot instead. Speaking of the Dimensional Depot, let's just grab the last couple of motors out. We are 1 minute away from unlocking bauxite refinement. There's always a little bit of adjustment going from having the jetpack to having the hover pack. It's just slightly different. Alright, so I guess we should also, while we're here, be checking on our resources, because I suspect we're probably actually running out. Alright, power is starting to creep up into the worrying territory, but isn't a problem just yet. iron is... seems like it's not quite keeping up. Although maybe it is, and it's just the first one which is struggling, but the rest are probably keeping up with it. Alright, let's head over here and look at coal, which seems to be completely fine. And that's just basically 99% full across the board. Limestone are doing fine. Alright, the freighter is back. Let's turn around and unlock bauxite refinement. At least the quick glance that I've just done is encouraging for the resources. This is definitely 1,000 times cleaner than the trucks. It is really quite convenient. But yeah, the iron is definitely very slowly draining, it looks like. Looks like it's starting to be mostly empty. So let's just click here until all of that is in. And apparently we need 8 more motors. So there you go. Alright, bauxite refinement done.
Bauxite is refined into aluminum products via a multi-step process.
So now let's start scanning and
achievements. You should have the minimum required skill to overcome these new production challenges.
Reloading. Oh, this is good.
If it helps, many others have done this before, so if you fail, someone else will eventually succeed.
This scan is actually just too good. Like, it has 2 things that I really want in it. Let's take electrode scrap. And do I want either of these? Not especially. Sloppy alumina. You love to see it. Don't need either of those. Pure aluminum ingot. Should be good. And then I guess we'll reload that one. Yeah, okay. We're not using aluminum beams. That is never happening. Alright, so we have like the basics required for an aluminum setup in terms of our hard drives. Alright, so then the next thing to do is, I guess, just find some aluminum and start hooking everything up. Alright, so first of all, let's just put a radar down, because I'm pretty sure aluminum is, or the bauxite is typically found in like this general area. So let's get a little bit of space out here, go down to organization and radar tower. And power it up. And yes, there is definitely a whole load of bauxite around here in the middle of the map. Alright, so now we have to set up a train station setup for that. And we also probably need to just urgently fix the iron, because the supply is definitely not keeping up there. Coal should be doing fine. I think a coal train just left like moments ago, which is why that's the way it is. Okay, limestone is currently being refilled. And back that goes. Should be fine. The water, we don't even use anymore. We just get our water locally nowadays, because this is slightly more annoying than it ended up being worth. Next up is oil, which looks fine. Yeah, this all looks normal to me. Plenty of oil there. Next up, we go back to Caterium, which is doing great. quartz is currently running. Is that because it's almost empty and struggling, or... Alright, yeah, it does look like there might be a small quartz problem, but it doesn't seem like a huge one. So that's a plus. And then copper is just doing whatever copper does, because this fills up directly from here. And okay, this middle one is actually looking very empty. Obviously all the output train lines are doing fine. Alright, well, let's just add bauxite in. And once again, just gonna push off that until later. Alright, so go back to railway setup. Then we rotate this. And we send that over. Oh, and I need to grab a whole bunch of wire and concrete into my inventory because I use a lot of that for these things. Then we're going to need to just place a whole bunch of concrete and get the foundations down for the train. Alright, so that all goes in. Then we have to put in the train station, which I believe is a 2 foundation gap, right? Yes, 2 foundations and then the train station. So we get the train station, we rotate it about, and it goes here. That's lined up with that. It's got the correct gap. It's facing the right way. So in you go. Then we need to expand that out and put the other one in here, which is centered on this one. And there we go. Alright, so this is bauxite hub. This is bauxite distributor. So those are both in. And now we get the freight platforms, which just go like 1, 2, 3. Right, apparently we would be helped by connecting this up to power, but that's going to be actually a little bit annoying. So we're just going to build this out from the ground level. So that all goes. This goes across. And this is going to have to go out a long ways. Out to there. Alright, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 freight platforms there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 freight platforms there. And then we get to put in our belts, which are very soon not going to be the fastest possible belts, so that's fun. Alright, so those all go across. And now we set up the rest of the train stuff. So this is apparently a 4 wide gap. until the next train line. Alright, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then here. This feels like it's too much extra space, but I'm not gonna worry about that. Alright, so then this railway goes along there. And then we need to just connect the tracks in like that. Now this has to... Actually, I think we use the blueprint here. So do something like this. Put in a couple of them, like 2 maybe. And then we can attach that in. Alright, now we need to bring the main line over this way. Like that. And... Alright, can you build mode blueprint auto connect so that you snap in properly? And you go along there. And a little bit further. Oop, mammal research is done. Let's get some more scanning. Do that. Just make sure that scans until we're all through. Alright, now we can hover again because those rails are powered. So we just need to go like that. And then put the signals in. So you get path signal. You get a path signal. Wait, no, this is facing the wrong way, isn't it? This is the input. So the path signal here actually goes there. Block signal out goes there. And then we have those in like that. Alright. Now, why? Alright. That's obvious because we just haven't finished setting this up yet. Alright, so you get a block signal. And you get a block signal. And then we have to go over here and hook this up. So we go in like that. Then this goes out 2 blocks before curving up like that. And then this train track just twists around like so. Okay, now we go back here and make sure that that connects in. And then they get their output block signals there and there. Alright, and then obviously still no exit signal. We're working on that. So we take that piece of railway out, bring that one in like that, and then they connect across. And that's all set up. Only thing left to do is this is set to unload. And we're good. Alright. So now we can just get our bauxite into the train system, however is most convenient to us. So next step is going to be actually grabbing some bauxite from the ground, and maybe I'll get lucky and there'll just be some over here. Are we within... We aren't really in good radar range, so let's place a new radar down then. Just get it in this little gap in here. Alright, so you go out to a power line and then back in. Unfortunately, seems to be no bauxite in the immediate vicinity. There is some right down there, though. Pure, normal, impure, impure. So let's head down there and grab some bauxite. So we're going to need to set up a train station in that general vicinity, which is just this way and then south. Alright, now I don't think that the hover pack is going to be able to make this gap. Oh, it can. It's pretty close, but it can make it. Alright, so now we're here, and just due south of us is the bauxite. So, we take a random inconspicuous spot, and we make an intersection. So that goes like that. Now we need to set this all up. Alright, let's see if I can remember how to do this. It's just across like that and across like that. And then the signals going in, that becomes a path signal. That becomes a path signal. Then you get a path signal. You get a block signal. Intersection complete. So now we head not too far south. We don't want to overshoot, but a good couple of foundations. And yeah, if we start building here, we should be just about centered on top of them. So we need to get some space for a train station in here. Just a single train station. Alright, so you go in like that. Alright, that apparently isn't centered correctly. Let's fix that. And we also need to leave enough space for this to curve around the sides, so let's just go a little bit further back just to be sure. That should be plenty. Alright, yeah, that's fine. And then this just goes like that. And now freight platforms. 1, 2, 3. And then we need the space for 2 more freight platforms. This expands out. 4 and 5. And then this will be river bauxite, I guess. River bauxite source. Alright, so now this railway just has to go around and loop into the station so that trains can actually get to it. Alright, and we need to do some somewhat clever maneuvering in order to get there. Oh boy, that's not good. Alright, we managed to get underneath the train station and be close enough for that to work, but yeah, having that happen is one of the major drawbacks to jetpack use. Alright, let's actually make sure that this curves out a bit more so that we have more space for that curve and then in. Alright, that is a nice and solid arc there. So this is all set up. So now we just have to set up this. Now there are 4 bauxite nodes down there, but they're not all even. So we are going to have to then do some belting. And actually, how are these distributed? 2 impures. What is that one? Alright, I'm pretty sure one of these is a pure. And I think that one's normal. Yeah, so 2 impures, a normal, and a pure. We have the MAM research done. Let's throw another one. Let's not build a space elevator. Alright. Yeah, we are starting to run low again, and we have a whole lot more recipes to unlock before we're done with this. So we're definitely going to need to go exploring again soon. Alright, actually, I think we should probably just get the belts up before we figure out how exactly we're dividing them. Because I don't know how many belts I need for this. So let's just get that space, and then the belts can just come up like that. And then we'll figure out how much is on each of them, and then that'll be that. Alright, so now we have to get down to the bauxite, which I can actually see 2 of the nodes from up here. Alright. So, I have this somewhat scuffed blueprint, which I can use to just build up some basic stuff so we can connect power onto the wall and also have this ladder going down. Alright, so in order to connect power onto the wall, we need to have a power line. So let's bring that over here. And now, as long as we keep connecting this down, we should have power on to hover pack all the way up and down. Alright, so we just keep placing that blueprint a couple more times. And we keep on going down. Alright. Almost there, almost there. Alright. So there is one of the nodes, and there's a crash site actually, so that's handy. And a Mercer sphere as well. And this area is covered with radiation and radioactive hogs and stuff, so that's a bit unfortunate. Alright, so this gets us down to this sort of bridge arch type thing. Alright, so first we pick up the Mercer Sphere, which would be handy if that worked. And then we fly out of range of that.
First, there was a whole involved process of evolution from single-celled organisms to mammals, rodents specifically.
Alright. Minor Mark III.
And that's not even explaining the whole dinosaur extinction meteor making room for
How are you
mammals to
on?
dominate the animal kingdom instead.
Alright, let's
You know what? I will just compile a
get
data
up
package for
here.
you to look at later, because I don't even know where to start with the whole ape thing.
Harmonious explosion.
get rid of you. This is fortunately just naturally accessible, and we can hover back to safety. Said hover back to safety. Alright, we have to get all the way over here in order to not be within range of the stupid hogs. Alright. So, do we have power shards on us? Yes, a couple. So I should be able to hop in here. Throw those two in, power you up, and then get back out of range of the hogs. And now we just bring that belt along, and we shouldn't have to get too close to that again. Now we bring power down to that one, which is fortunately much friendlier. And we just get Minor Mark II. And unfortunately, it is a normal node and not a pure node. So we are going to need more power shards. So let's get you down. Tell you to do some crafting. And I'm still not confident that is going to work first try, so let's have it make one recipe of empty canisters first, just to lock in that we're definitely doing fancy stuff. Now we can put our power shards in, and we should be able to get a good solid 40 out of these. We are still pretty far away from artificial power shards, unfortunately, which would be very nice to have. Alright, while that's crafting, I can at least set that up, because we're going to need that eventually. And then max, just clock that up to 300. Now we do have to just wait here for this, because we need to pick up our summer soups and everything once we're done with this. Alright, there we go. And just wait for the last couple of these to finish crafting. Actually, we can use the power shards to speed up the power shards. So that'll go faster than usual. There we go. And the last cycle is going to go at 2.5 times speed. Imagine making 62.5 power shards per minute over like a sustained period of time. That would be crazy. Alright, so now we don't need that anymore. We don't need to convert the yellow power slugs or the blue ones. 39 should be more than enough. Alright, so this comes up there. And then over to there. Second belt of bauxite. Check. Now we have to turn south for 2 more. which are apparently pretty far away. So let's head down here. There's one. Is the other one just going to be next to it? Is there going to be some elevation involved? Okay, the other one is just like around the other side of this tree. Yeah, there it is. Alright, so let's just bring power over to that. And there we go. Being able to fly is incredible. So there's that. Now this needs max overclocking. And then get out of the way. Power it on. And even at max overclocking, it's only 150, so we can use Mark III belts for the first little bit here. And then that gets out to there. We put the minor Mark II there. And max overclock. So there we go. Now we just merge these two up. Boom. Boom. And this is another belt of 300. So now we just have to take this over to this general area and send it up into the sky. Up you go. And up you go. Alright, another MAM has finished, so let's get that scanning. We might actually be running low on new recipes again. I'm starting to see a lot of repeats. Alright, so we have 300, 300, 480. So that's fine. These can just... Let's actually bring the belts down from above. Actually, it'll be easier to hypertube cannon my way up. So let's just get some foundation there. And where are you? Where are you? There you are. Alright, so we have to take that support out. Then that tube out as well. So swap to noodle and just go something like that. Now we hook that up to a power line, which I guess can be that one. And up we go. Right, you can also just tap spacebar on the hover pack to just immediately pause all your momentum, I guess. That's handy. Alright, so we don't need 4 of these, we only need 3. So we're going to get rid of that one. And as far as these 3 go, we are going to... How do we do this in a way that makes sense? So the first one is going to go across all of these. Like that. And then into all of these. Alright, now this goes across. Like that. Alright. I have an idea, actually. So this is going to be the first... That's going to be the 480 belt. Now we need the other two to go along up this way so that we can use all of that. Now we aren't going to be able to get... Actually, yeah, no, we will be able to get all of those in if we do this the smart way. So that goes like that. Now this one comes along here. Like that. And then up. Alright. Now these all connect into those. Let's just pop all of those in like that. Nice and easy. Alright, now we put mergers on here. Just midway through like that. And then, can I stack these splitters next to them? No, I can't. Alright, we'll just have to do that manually then. So like that. Alright, I get the feeling that this one just isn't lined up correctly to anything. Alright, yeah, I guess they can line up with those just for consistency's sake. Like that. And then there. And up. And then that one goes there. And that one goes up. So now these all go across like that. And this goes up a little bit and then across into that. And now we should probably be good. I think that'll work. If not, it should just about work. Now we just have to bring these belts down and connect them up. So down we go. And it would be preferable for the 480 to go in the one on the right. Just because that is the one which isn't getting augmented by the other belt. Alright, so keep on going down. And I guess we should probably twist around so we don't stray too far from the wall here. So there. And we're short encased industrial beams, of course. Well, that is definitely something that I expected. But I forgot to actually prepare myself for that, which I could have done by just filling up my inventory more ahead of time. Alright, so that we can at least get that in. Apparently we are too close to the radiation there. Alright, let's just get these. We are very close to ground level. And there we go. That ought to be good enough. Alright, still too steep. So a little bit further down. And we're going to have these twist out sideways like that. Alright, then this, we just need to work differently. So you go straight up and then across. Then this, we take that out. And you go in there. Alright, so that is bauxite. And now we can hypertube cannon our way back up. Up we go. And here we are. Alright, so they are showing up. And there we go. So all of those are in. And we are starting to fill this up. But we need this to actually connect across. That's somewhat important. There we go. And this should just fill up all of these pretty quick. Alright, then last thing we need to do is the train itself. So you get a car, a locomotive, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 freight cars. And you are river bauxite. So you go to river bauxite source, and you go to, if I can type correctly, bauxite hub. And I believe that's all the setting I need to do for you. And we had another MAM finish. So let's keep on scanning. Yeah, we're definitely going to need to pick up a lot more hard drives in order to get progress done there. Alright, so this train is obviously not exactly very full at the moment. Although that last cart is. But it's going to go off. And this is going to keep filling, and then that is going to make its way a somewhat convoluted path over to there, where we can start filling up our bauxite hub. Alright, so the next step in the process is going to be aluminum ingots. And boy, is that going to be a step, huh? Aluminum ingots are somewhat infamously annoyingly complicated. And we want to make a whole lot of them, because I don't want to have to make them in tiny little batches everywhere we go. Alright. Gosh, the ACU factory is just a gigantic spaghetti monster of death. And it's also still not working at 100%. You can see the yellow lights from here. At some point I really need to just have like a bug fixing stream where all I do is I just run around finding all the old factories and repairing them. For now though, we are going to just go over here and continue forward progress. Alright, so we have that. We have that. And now we just need to... before we set this up, we need to figure out what the aluminum ingots actually needs. So, aluminum ingots. Pure aluminum ingots is just scrap to aluminum. Scrap is petroleum coke or coal, but I think generally you want to do petroleum coke for this. Into scrap and water, which we're going to have to recycle. So alumina solution is just bauxite and water. Alright, so what do we need? We need bauxite, we need water, and we need we need petroleum coke, so we need crude oil. And that is not terrible to make. So, that's just like 2 things, right? Should be straightforward compared to the absolute menace that was the ACU factory. Alright, so we set this up. And then we put the train station in. Actually, no, before we put the train station in, we need this. So that goes along like that. Then you need to snap into that somehow. Actually, it's just going to be easier to make this as an actual curve. Gosh, it is taking forever to get fixed properly. Yeah, let's give it some more space to curve then. Just have it go out like that. And then that goes across there. And now this all goes across. Alright, train station time. Let's see, you should only need that much space. And alright, this is going to be weird because this, I do want this to be outputting as well, so we are going to need an output station. Alright, so this all goes along. So we have that, then we get another station, which is just gonna be pretty compact. Alright, apparently there's no power here. I thought there was power here, but there is a hard drive below us, so, you know, silver lining and all that. I'm gonna drop down here and parachute over and grab this hard drive. Alright, hard drive acquired. Now we leave. Alright, the hover pack is very convenient, but it can also be incredibly annoying when something like that happens and you think you have power but you don't. And you just fall before you can do anything about it. So now we have to ladder all the way back up. And that is going to take some time. Once again, cursing my decision to build this factory so incredibly high up in the air for no reason. Alright, up we go. We are almost back up. And then we will have this nice convenient ladder here, I guess. That's something. we go. And we still have so much height to gain, and we also need to go pretty far horizontally. Alright, up we go. Even more ladders. This should be plenty. Yep, here we go. You can just parachute on over. No need to even use any fuel for this. And then back to Huff Pack. Alright. So, what we need, which we didn't have there, is we need this station to be hooked up to power, which means making this intersection. Alright, so that goes in. That goes across like that. Then this comes into there. And this goes along there. Alright, now, as for the signaling, that's a block signal, which goes out. That's a path signal, which goes in. That's a block signal going out. That's a path signal going in. And then we have a block signal there. And a path signal there. And why are you still upset? Alright, I know why you're upset, but... Okay, you're doing the whole looping into itself thing. So what if I move you back there, and I move you back there? Alright, all fixed. And we got another hard drive scan. So let's throw you in. Alright, nope, that's everything. We have aluminum rod, which we're never going to use, because lol. Absolutely awful recipes there. Alright, so instead of station 53, this is going to be bauxite. We'll call this aluminum ingot bauxite. And then this, I just want all of these to line up over there. And so then the next thing we need is crude oil. And this actually needs to keep going. Alright, why are you trying to do it backwards like that instead of the way any normal thing would do it? There we go. So then this is aluminum ingot crude oil. Aluminum ingot oil. While I'm doing this, I need to grab all the wire I can. And then we have one more here, which is going to be actually the aluminum ingot output, because this factory is ultimately going to be outputting aluminum ingots so that I don't have to make them from scratch every time, because the process is a bit fiddly and annoying. So then we grab this, we line it up, and we place it in. Alright, now we get the freight platform fun, which apparently requires this to also be expanded out one further. Alright, freight platforms. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Alright, so that is all set up. Now we just have to set up the input train line and then actually start working on the factory. Which, by the way, I still haven't done any calculation for, so I'm sure that'll be fine. Alright, so the railway goes along here. And along there. Now this has to go a bit further back and then line up with that. So let me just do that and make sure that is filled in, and then just connect these rails up like that. No, why did you do that instead of just connecting? Alright, there we go. Nice and easy there. And right, so now we just need to connect all these train stations up. So first, you get a block signal, and you get a block signal. And you get to come back there, and then I don't know. It's tough to judge with these things exactly where they need to be. So let's just run that all the way over. And no, not like that, but it does work if you build it backwards like that for some unknowable reason. And then this is going to be aluminum ingot output. And then we just have to go over here and then get all these wrapped around in. So like you, and you, and there. Now we put the signals, and this whole thing should now be just about set up. We need to set, I only put three things in. That's frustrating. So we have to, so the trains are supposed to be 5 long, not 3 long, so we actually have to take all of this side of things down, put in 2 more of these. I knew this wasn't using a suitably insane amount of wire. Alright, well, it's not a big deal. This sort of thing is not terribly slow to build. Alright, so now we just have to redo all of that. Let's make sure that there's enough concrete. And we'll go 1 more. I think 2 is technically enough, but 3 never hurt anybody. Alright, so that goes along that way. And connects back into there. Now these hook up, like there, and there, and there. Alright, put the block signals back in. get rid of these block signals, which are weirdly in the middle of the station. Does that even do anything? Does that function? Can't imagine that it does. Alright. So that is that. Now we just need to set up a train to call up the resources. I'd also set these to unload mode, which I think I was in the middle of doing when I realized that problem. Alright, so these are all unload. Then these are all unload. And now we put the trains in. Transport locomotive with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. And you are aluminum bauxite. And so you go from there to there. And while you're here, you wait until you've fully unloaded. And did I... Alright, turn on self-driving, and off you go. And this is crude oil. Oh, so this isn't freight platform. This is meant to be fluid freight platform. So all of those go out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 go back in. And apparently that connects up because that turned green again. So now we have to reset all of these to unload. Like that. And now we put our train back in. And you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. And you are aluminum oil. And so you go to oil distributor, and you go to here. And while you're here, you wait until you're empty. And off you go. Now this one we're gonna have to set up bringing this back in to an aluminum ingot distributor setup over there. For now we're just going to ignore it, and we might not even do that. We might just use this as the aluminum ingot distributor. Probably won't break anything too important. Alright, now we should sit down and do the math. Alright, so display sign, aluminum ingots. How much of this do we want? So I think we want, I don't know, because this isn't like a final product thing, this is an intermediate thing. I guess we can go with the... Actually, we could just make this blueprinted. Making this blueprinted would be nice. But yeah, let's do that. So we are first going to need a wall. We are going to need to get up above all of the train's stuff. So you go up. And is that high enough, or is that just barely not high enough? That's just barely not high enough. Cool. We go one higher. And then we're going to set up a blueprint machine up here. and figure out how much of this we can get done in a single blueprint. So previously, in my previous world, we had done all of aluminum in a single blueprint. Now I'm trying not to manifold or anything this time, so it might be harder, but we'll see. Alright, so if I can type, apparently I can't. Aluminum ingots final. So the final pure aluminum ingots is just in a smelter. Alright, so we have a smelter, which does pure aluminum ingots. Then we have aluminum scrap, which we're going to be making in a refinery. Sorry about that. Quick sneeze. So, this is electrode aluminum scrap. And I'm not worrying about like the exact details of everything lining up properly, just trying to get a visualization of how much space is this going to take up. So then we need alumina solution, which is going to be another refinery doing sloppy alumina. So that will be bauxite and water. So this will be like the ultimate input to the factory. And then for petroleum coke, we need heavy oil residue and alright, so we need to get crude oil into heavy oil residue as like the first step. And we're not going to be able to do all of this in a single thing, but we can probably get, assuming we have the petroleum coke just as an additional input, we should be able to set up something decent with this. Alright, so I want this to be space efficient, so I think we're going to have some of the connecting stuff outside of the blueprint. So then this can produce 300 alumina scrap, and that should be no problem for keeping up with the rest of this stuff. So that there would be 300 aluminum scrap into aluminum ingots. Alright. So then we would take this, we would 1 to 5 it into all of those. And now let's get one more smelter in and just do a 1 to 6 instead, because it's just going to be more space efficient and technically slightly more power efficient as well, although that's not why I'm doing it. So this goes something like that. Something like that. Now this is going to be 150 each. So these belts in here need to be Mark III. So you're Mark III and you're Mark III. And these are going to be like, what, 25 each? Alright, so now we have 50 times 6 is 300 scrap. So that uses everything. And then can we squeeze the refinery just a little bit further back? To fit in there, we can. But then it sort of defeats the purpose, right? Because now the input into it isn't... Yeah, I don't think we can quite manage this in a blueprint. At least not in a satisfying way. So we're just going to build it manually. And that's fine. Alright, so we start with... Actually, have the resources shown up here? No, although it looks like the crude oil might have. Alright, well, we're just going to have to wait for the bauxite to return. Which shouldn't be too long. I sent it first, so unless it's gotten stuck somewhere... Might have gotten stuck somewhere. Alright, so we... Yeah, we're going to start with the row smelters. Now, we need this to be expandable, right? Because I don't know if what I have here is going to be enough forever. Alright, actually, I think that means we do each thing on its own floor. So that... Alright, so we start off with a refinery, and the refinery is going to make sloppy alumina. Now that's just alumina solution from bauxite and water. Super simple. And then we're going to have a couple of those. $200 bauxite per machine. That is sort of crazy. Now I can make this... let's see. 140 maybe even? No. It's gonna be something weird like that, isn't it? Oh, wait, is it just 144? Yeah, it's just 144. So that's 120 bauxite per machine, which means that this can be speed balanced easily, which is great. Basically necessary for expandable setups like this to make everything speed balanced. And we're just going to go a full belt of bauxite, I guess, to start. And then obviously in the future we'll have faster belts, and we can also just use more of them. Those have to be smart splitters. Let's make sure those are all in. So it's center overflow, right any. And those all get pasted. Alright, so now we just run the Mark IIs. And the water is going to be a whole thing, which we're going to deal with that later because it's recycling nonsense, which I do want to do. Alright, so now we have all this alumina solution, which we can just gather up into a pipe. And this is going to be 144 times 4 is 576. So this will all fit in a single Mark II pipe. So that goes across like that. And all of these get piped together, nice and easy. Alright, so we have our alumina solution. Now we go up another floor. And I'm going to want to bring power up with me, because now that I'm using the hover pack, having power adjacent at all times is helpful. Alright, so then this goes up. Is this the right floor? Yeah, that looks right. Alright, so now we just expand this out a whole lot. So, aluminum scrap needs the petroleum coke. And we have 576 alumina solution here, which means we need to figure out how much that is. So this is going to be like that, I guess. So if it's 576 alumina solution, it's going to be 192 petroleum coke. Alright, so we need to let's just do all that on one floor because it's pretty straightforward. We just get a refinery that makes heavy oil residue. And then we go out a little bit further like that. And that is going to feed into a refinery that makes petroleum coke. And that's going to be 120 there. And I assume... oh, wait, it is 40 heavy oil residue. Okay, so then these can just pipe clean across like that. So this is going to be 192 divided by 2. And then this is also going to be 96. And then these are going to be 32 each. Alright, so now we have 192 petroleum coke. And we can expand this out as we need to in the future. And then the last thing to do is just bring this pipe along, which needs to be Mark II and then needs to be connected into these. Alright, so that is that. And then we're going to have to worry about connecting all of these into the inputs at some point. Also, I just realized I've made it crooked. I don't want it to be crooked. I want it to be nice and even. Which means we have to take all this out and start again. So we go over here and as high up as possible. There we go. That is no longer crooked. And it attaches up like that. And then the petroleum coke comes out the other side and can attach up like this. Alright, now we go up another floor. Something like that. One more up, looks like. There we go. Alright, so now we make this into a floor. And alright, so we have 192 petroleum coke, 576 alumina solution. And we just need refineries. And these refineries need to be electrode scrap. And it's going to be a couple of them. So that's going to be 180, that's going to be 360, that's going to be 540, so it's going to be 4 of these. 576 divided by 4 is... Oh, no, that's... This is supposed to be... hang on. How does this work? So we need 144 divided by 180 times 100, I think. Yes, there we go. So this then outputs, looks like 2 full belts of aluminum scrap, and we're just going to have to get all of this together. So you get some of these in. Alright, so the petroleum coke is 48 on the last step. So the last step can be Mark 1, the rest of them have to be Mark 2 at least. So we go like that, and that's the petroleum coke all set up. Alright, and then we just need to put in a pipe for the water, which, let's see, send it out just back here, give it plenty of space, and then it goes across all the way over to there. And now we just have to get all of these connected in. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so now we have alumina solution and petroleum coke going in here. We get aluminum scrap and water out. How much water is this? 84 times 4 equals 336 water. Where'd my mouse go? There it is. So if we have 336 water, then we drop down to here. These are 120 water each. So is that right? 84 times 4 is 336. Yeah, we get the vast majority of the water back here. Apparently. Alright, so in that case, how do we do this? We could mess with the speeds, but then that would break the speed balancing here, which I'm honestly fine with because I'm not doing speed balancing on any of the other floors. Alright, so let's take all of this out. And then these are just going to... So that can be 200, and then this can be 136, and then the two of them together make 336. And then we need, what, 480 minus 336 is 144 divided by 2, which is 72. So, oh, wait. Hang on. We need 72 water, so that would be 72 divided by 200 times 100, so 86.4. Is that Correct. Does this all add up? So we have 144 water there, plus 113.33 water there. Okay, actually we can do this easier by just calculating the Illumina solution. So that's 86.4. 0.4 times 2 is 172.8 plus 136 is 308.8 plus 240 is 548.8, which is definitely not the same numbers we had a moment ago. So the bauxite, which should be 480, is 200, 313, 385 something. Yeah, we've definitely done this wrong. So if we go up here, that was definitely supposed to be 336 water back. So these two... Oh, yeah, duh. I just haven't done this one right. So this is 136 divided by 200 times 100 is 136 water there. So now we have 336 water plus 144 is 480. Yep, so that is the amount of bauxite we're using. So now we just have to get these two connected into the water backflow, these two connected into the fresh water, and then we'll be good. And we're also going to need to fiddle with the bauxite a whole lot. Alright, I suppose we can make these even. 336 divided by 2 is 168 plus 168. So now we just have to do one weird split of 480 into 336 plus 144, which honestly this is not looking super expandable at the moment, although maybe we can make blueprints out of some of these to speed it up. We might be able to make like a blueprint per floor and have that work. Alright, so let's try to figure out that splitting. So this is 140, 140. So 72, is 72 or 144 achievable? So 144 is 120 plus 24. 24 is, I mean, it's 2.5, right? I don't want to do that. Seems miserable. Alright. What about just the ratio between these two things? Because I might be able to do something with that. So, 144 divided by 336 is some random number. Some random number. 336 divided by 144. Does that make more sense? It does. It's 2.33 repeating. So, is there a way of basically taking like something that is 3.33 repeating, getting 1 off of it, and then sending 2.33 the other way? Because that would work for this, but I don't know. I haven't done that sort of thing much. Like trying to get specific ratios instead of specific numbers. No, I don't think that's going to be easy. So 336. What is 336 minus 270 is 66. which is once again not very convenient. Not very convenient at all. I could obviously just manifold this, but I really don't want to. How about 140? We can get 20 easily. And we can get 120 easily. So we could do 140, 140, and then the rest splits into over there. I guess that's probably going to be my best bet. So actually, we could do that just sort of all in a big clump. And it's probably going to be easier to do it like this. So we get... Let's start with this one over here. Since it's on the side, it gives me some room to mess around. So that gets a belt going in. Now this is composed of a Mark II belt and 1/3 of a Mark I belt. So it has to be something like that, where these two go back and merge up like that. Alright, then... So then this would merge like that, and I've wasted a little bit of space in there. So that merges up like that, which means that this is going to be 60, and we're going to go 20 there, and then the rest will be whatever is looping around there. Although we do need to make this a fancy merger, I think, so that is medium priority, because otherwise this wouldn't be able to output the full 40 onto this, and we would get problems where this would just backlog and then more would go over there. Alright, so we have that, and then we can just make sure that these get everything. So you actually, if we just have a splitter here, and then this is the Mark II there, and then that is the 60 there, then we can just have this be the main output. Alright, so let's... I guess this is probably fine as is. So what we can do is just mirror this and have a blueprintable setup that does both of these. Yeah, let's make that blueprint. And we're going to need some space for this. Alright, so space and blueprint designer. So, first of all, can we actually just fit the refineries in here? Does this take 4 refineries? 1, 2, 3, 4. It does. Cool. So now we need to replicate this. So we have a merger there. Oh, but these also need to take water, so it can't actually be that close. you have to step back a little bit there. And go across there. And actually, let's see if we can make this better by having this output to both of these, like that. So then we're going to have to set up sort of a modified version of this. Actually, a better way just occurs to me. So this is 280 total. So that is 270 plus 10, which is simpler than this, I think. So we need a merger to go in to that. And that needs to be Mark 4 to carry 280. Then this is going to be a Mark 3 belt going back there. And this just needs to accept 10. So we start with this, which is going to split it there, and then back a little bit. So this is going to take 1/3 and make it into 1/6, basically. So now we have to make a third, which we can do with another splitter. But we need some space here. So can we, if you go default mode, just to buy us a little space there for this to twist out. And actually, this will be even easier if this... Yeah, what was I doing? That has to be a splitter, not a merger. So if we have that going there, then we can take that, and that, and that. Alright, I just placed a mysterious looping belt of death. We've got to replace that. So that just has to go across to there. And that just has to go across to there. And that goes into there as well. So now if you put 60 into here, then it'll go 20, 20, 20, and then 10 and 10. Alright, so now we just need to loop this input. Okay, so we then have to have something like this. So that goes around like that. And that sends all of its output onto this, which is going to need to be a priority merger to take priority from there. And then we just need to feed in a belt. Alright, so you get to be a smart splitter. And you send 270 that way. And that will be priority. Then left will be overflow for another 60. And then as long as we have a Mark IV belt going into that, I think this will work. But what we need to do is get over to these two somehow as well. Alright, so these are, I believe, no, not 144. What were the settings on these? I have to go over and check. 168. 168. And 168 there. Alright, so how do we get the excess from this over to there? And I think we're going to have to think with 3 dimensions here. And I'm not sure we've left ourselves quite enough space. Although, I just had a thought of how we can do better. So we're going to have to take some of that out. Now this outputs that way. And then this is a priority merger facing that way. I think we do that, and that connects in. You take medium priority there. Then here we get a smart splitter. So this belt then has to actually be faster. I don't know how fast, but something like that. And then it's going to be right any center overflow. And then these can split there. How fast does this actually have to be? I don't have the recipes in. It is 86.4, which seems wrong, but 86.4 and 86.4. So that is then 280 plus... Wait, have I done the math wrong here this entire time? So that's 280 input. This is... This should be... Why am I blanking on math here? This should be like 100 input, right? Because if this is 280, we want to use 480 bauxite, then this should be 50%. Alright. And somehow that leaves me with a nice even 100 on the input, which I feel like I could have figured out easier than this. Alright, so then those have to be Mark II belts to keep up with 100 input. And then that is 240 plus 168 times 2 plus 240 is 576, which is the number we expect. The math is now mathing. And this should all be good to go as long as we send in exactly one full belt into this smart splitter. Should all be fine. And then while we're here, let's put the water pipe in as well. Just go along, like along this way, something like that. No. How do you... I really feel like there ought to be a way to like partially go back, just like one step, not all the steps. Alright, so that goes across there. And then all of these get pipeline junctions. So there we go. All of these go in. And then that connection very specifically doesn't happen. That's important. Wait, but no. This is wrong still. Because these two are supposed to add up to 336 water, not 336 alumina solution. Why am I so bad at this? So this has to be 168 divided by 200 times 100. Which means that all of this is wrong. Alright. So that is 336 water recycled between these two. And then we just need to... Yeah, because this is wrong, because this is going up to 280, not 336, which means, hooray, all of this is useless. I'm definitely not... My brain is not working at 100% today. It's the vacation I'm still tired from, I think. So we have to take all this apart. And the good news is that we just have to make 2 belts of... We just have to make 200, which should be a lot easier than what we were doing just now. It is still annoying that we got everything figured out, only for it to be wrong. Alright, so these are... Oh wait, no, it's not going to be 2 belts of 100. It's going to be... This was supposed to be that weird number over here. So, 86.4. 86.4. And 86.4. So now we have to get 72, or 144, or 168, or 336. And this is much more difficult, actually. Because of course it is. Alright, can I mess with the numbers here to make this easier? So if I make this like 60 plus 84, is that better? No, because 84 is still hard to get. If I make this... Yeah, no, because the problem is I need to get one of these 2 halves perfectly split so that the other half can just get the overflow and be correct. Alright. So we have 72, which is obviously just 60 plus 12, but 12 means... Actually, hang on. Okay, so these can just be 144 as a single machine. And that might make things easier, maybe, because they're below 50%. And these two are above 50%, so that's not going to work with them. Alright, so this... Clock speed to 72. And then just take that machine out entirely. Alright, so now we just need to get 144, which is 120 plus 24. 24 is 60... Okay, 120 divided by 24 is 5. So that isn't terrible. We just get a 1 to 5 balancer, which isn't, like, incredible. I'm not thrilled about using these. And actually, I think this specific design isn't even going to work properly. Alright, let's pop it in and see. So we have one of these going forwards to that. Then we have this, which... Okay, no, this 1 to 5 is not gonna work, I think. We might have to build a new 1 to 5 for this purpose. Alright, let's tear all of this out. All of this goes, and we just need to find some other way of adding up to 144. So 144 minus, I don't know, 30 is 114. That doesn't seem easy. Alright, so I can get 45 and then 99, but how do you get 99? I mean, it's gotta be 120 plus 24. I don't know how to make 24. So 24 is 60. It's 2.5 times 60. So if we get a 1 to 5 splitter and take 2 of them, yeah, I mean, that is like the only answer that even reasonably works here, unfortunately. So we have a 1 to 5 splitter. We take 2 of them. Let's have that be these 2. And then they merge up, and we have 24. Alright, so then we have to take all the rest of these and recollect them, and then send them off to do something to meet up with 120. Alright. Really wanted to finish this blueprint at least by the end of the stream. We were making good progress, and then I got to this point and I have hit a wall. Alright, so this also has to meet up with a belt of 120 somewhere. So that is probably just going to come from that side. Then we're going to have to take all of these, get rid of those random conveyor poles, and okay, now that I've dismantled it, how did this work? So we had that one. It was 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so there's supposed to be 6 outputs total, where that's one of them. So I think it's just something like this, and then that, and that, and that. Alright, so then 60 goes into this, and then 24 goes out that way, 36 goes out that way. And in order for that to be helpful, we're going to have to bring this up a level. And then we need a smart splitter which goes into there. Oh, wait, no, it can't actually, because why would everything ever be simple? So we need another merger there for that to meet up with. And this needs to be a priority merger with priority medium to the right. So then this is a belt of 60. That's going to be 36 coming back, and that will be that. And then our smart splitter. Actually, no, I had it right there, I think. So we send some out there. Then we send some up there as another smart splitter with priority left, center overflow, right overflow. Alright, so that is going to be 120 plus 24 equals 144. And now, finally, we can just take the remaining 336 and split it halfway between those two. And then that is that. Alright, let's get a power pole in, because I made as well. And yeah, we used every single inch of the front half of this, and we have no room for the back half, so we're going to have to connect those up manually, which fortunately is simple. Alright, then we just need... We're going to need a sign here, which I guess can just go next to this, and we call this bauxite, and it's 480. Alright, that is that. Let's save this blueprint. And this is bauxite to alumina solution. And it is 480 bauxite, 480 water to, what is it, 576 alumina solution. So we can save that, clear the designer, and be done. Alright. I am exhausted and not thinking very clearly at the moment. That was way harder than it probably needed to be, but we did get through it. So we have the starts of our aluminum ingot factory. Then we just need to do the rest of the floors, also in blueprint form preferably. And then that will be that, and it should hopefully be relatively easy to expand compared to the amount of effort setting it up in the first place. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for hanging out. I will be playing Factorio tomorrow, where I believe we were just about done getting access to uranium, so that is exciting. We get to do all sorts of nuclear fun stuff, probably. So if you're interested in Factorio, make sure to stop by tomorrow. I stream every weekday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time, playing various factory building games. So I play Satisfactory on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Factorio on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you're interested in either of that, make sure to follow so that you can stop by and see when I stream next. And that is about it. Thanks everyone for hanging out, and I will see you guys